Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. I wonder if that's loud enough. Let me see here. Yep, I think so. Okay, so let me see who's here first. Okay, Mary H. Oh, very good. Thank you so much for being here first. Thank you, everybody else, for joining us. Love Wins Movement, Novi D. Let's see. Lorna Williams, Lucy Wynn, Deborah Anderson, um, Sussex Team Warrior. Okay. VS speaks royally. Hey, VS. Joan Garcia. All right, let's get into it. Lily Lamore, thank you so much for being here. Raffaella Bertoni. Oh, and by the way, thank you everyone for the super stickers. I saw there was some super stickers earlier in the comments. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. I heard a version of Jolene today that just knocked my socks off. Someone on the TikTok. Now, I can't play it for you because, well, the language was colorful, very spicy, but fun. Now, I never heard the entire song, Jolene, from front to back. I just knew Jolene, Jolene, Jolene. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything. I didn't know the story that the song was telling. Didn't even know the story behind the song. But, well, now I know. And, am I wrong to say that I love both Dolly Parton's original and also I love the Beyonce? I do. I love them both. I love them equally. One speaks to my more desperate side, and the other one speaks to my shadier side. Does that make sense for you? So, if you're feeling a bit needy and insecure, there's one version of the song. And if you think you might have to put some Vaseline on your face, peel those earrings off, there's the other song. So, Jolene, Jolene, Jolene. Yes, there is a modern response to Jolene by Chapel Heart. Oh, okay. Chapel Heart Love. All right. Well, either way, I like the song. Didn't know the story behind it, but it definitely had the spirit of Woman to Woman and a few other songs. So, well, I mean, that situation can happen to anyone, right? All right. So, all right, let's get on with it. So, of course, there's the British media hate campaign Backfire, and then Queen Camilla, and a few other things in between. Um, well, I'll just, you'll understand all once it is revealed. Let's get on with it. So, this is how we started. Well, actually, that goes back to 2022, doesn't it? And then this one is February of 2023. Um, there's a running dialogue of where things are. Oh, I should I say where things is with the royal family or where things were, because most of it is past tense. But there's always this incredible amount of pressure being placed upon the very narrow shoulders of the Cambridges, and now, of course, we call them the Welleses. But either way, there's a lot of pressure on them. And it seems like they're not prepared for that pressure. And every day seems worse than the last for them. They're not getting better, they're getting worse. They are actually getting worse. It doesn't make sense that with everything going your way, and for instance, with the Sussexes, so much is working against them, but yet the Sussexes are winning and the Waleses are losing. I mean, losing so bad, they're not even visible right now. And although it may be for various reasons, I won't get into what a person is capable of because we don't know what's going on. We just know that we had some bogus photos and possibly two, well, let's just say questionable videos. But other than that, we don't know anything. But we do know that the Queen managed to work all the way up to the end. If that wasn't an example of what it means to be a member of that family, I don't know what else you could think of. But the Queen set an example that the rest of them are falling short. Charles, I don't know what kind of cancer Charles has, but again, the Queen worked up until the end. And it just goes to show some people have that true grit and some don't, right? I mean, Charles seems to, well, I shouldn't say, but it's just a big difference. The younger generation gives out more information and does less. The older generation said less and got on with it, even though later on we found out that they probably should have just taken the time off. Well, anyway, seeing the mess that that institution is in right now, it's no wonder the Queen decided it was probably wise to work all the way up to the end. So let's start with the backfire first, shall we? Let's start with the backfire. So I've never heard of this publication before, Women's Life, Joy, Love, but they have a lot to say about things. Like, for instance, here it says British press attacks on Meghan Markle supporters will backfire. So, in recent hours, the British press has been under the internet spotlight for its relentless critiques and, at times, blatant attacks against individuals voicing their support for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Most recently, attacks have been made against tech CEO Christopher Boozy and UCLA Race and Equality, was it equity? Equity director Jonathan Perkins. This behavior raises serious concerns about press ethics and freedom of expression within the UK and has far reaching implications that could backfire significantly on the global stage, especially considering the watchful eyes of the internet users who kept receipts of unchecked hate against a woman of color, Meghan Markle. Of course, the international and independent press is not beholding to the royal institution and the British press. They will see this smear campaign against Boozy and Perkins for what it is, fear by the British press that the palace lies about Kate Middleton are not holding up within the public sphere. Uh, and that is the problem. Harry said that the biggest thing that they fear is losing control of the message. Once they lose control, they're just going to circle the drain and wash out to sea or into a sewage plant, I hope. But they're going to just wash away. They are going to circle the drain, which is what that institution is doing right now. It is what the British tabloid media is doing right now. Now, I don't know what the reputation of the tabloid, of the British media. I don't know what it was before Rupert Murdoch, but it seems like they have been pretty bad for very long. And the roots of our Globe and Star and even the National Enquirer, go back to the tabloid media. Some of those people that were, running those American weekly newspapers were actually transplants, expats from the UK. As a matter of fact, the American media is saturated with British writers and producers and such. Even the Washington Post has been taken over by someone who has been accused of playing a role in phone hacking, if that gives you any indication. So I understand what's going on. There is a fear of brown people. I'm just really going to paint with a broad brush right now, but there is a fear of brown people, black, brown, anybody who's darker or from a certain region of the world is problematic for the power brokers, the very paranoid right wing Brexit MAGA people. They have a problem with that because they feel as though the culture, the language, everything is going to be overrun um, by this big melting pot that's brewing. There is no way to avoid that. And yes, if you follow the lessons of history, Rome actually began to collapse from the inside out, not the outside in, because increasingly Rome was filled with more people from other places, but that's because they conquered those other places. So, yeah, they have a good reason to be afraid, but I'm not sure there's a lot you can do about it. The numbers are on the side of the marginalized people. And eventually, well, um, it's right now, let's say your kids have this flowing blonde hair. Well, one of these days, they're going to have a curly, sandy brown afro. A few generations away. But yeah, so we're in a cultural war. We're in a cultural war. Brexit is part of that cultural war. And unfortunately, our faves, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, is caught up in that same thing. So there's no direct threat from Christopher Boozy or this Perkins guy. They're not directly a threat. But the thing is, they are now being used as a pawn in this much larger game, and so is the Sussex squad. If you fancy yourself a member of the Sussex squad, then at some point any of us could be doxxed or targeted in some type of way, and yeah, I mean, it could happen. It could happen. I can't say for sure that this channel is safe, but as long as I'm able to do it, I will, keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to change the narrative or soften my tone because you all are my constituents, right? And let's say if I was a politician, if you don't follow your constituents, then you won't be in politics for long. Not to mention that morally, you're obligated to the people that help make you, right? The people who help build this channel into what it is expect a certain thing. When I say thank you for watching Royal Sussex, you're not here for other stuff. Doesn't mean that just be absolutely careless about what comes out of your mouth. But you have to stay true to yourself. Otherwise, as they say, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And I don't intend to go out that way. So as long as we got it, let's use it. Um, oh, let's see. Is it Sabri Brew? Thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for being a member. Greatly appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. So, um, as I was saying, this will. Oh, I see you using the Afro Annie. Oh, well, I tell you what, just for you, here we go. Okay. So, yeah, but it's going to backfire. There is a race to take over the hearts and minds of those young people on TikTok. I mean, they are fighting hard on TikTok. All of the news media, especially the legacy media, they are trying to make their way on. Well, actually, they are on TikTok. The Daily Mail is on TikTok. They want to be competitive because their demographics is mostly older people. And the amount of people that are consuming that garbage that they put out is fewer and fewer. So the only way that they're going to survive is to try to get into those spaces where the young people are. And we all know what happens when you go to their places that they find refuge, a place they call home, a place where they can express themselves. They just go to the next thing. I mean, when was the last time you heard of someone of a certain age on Facebook? Facebook is dying, right? So, in order to stay in the you know competitive, I believe that they have taken over Instagram a long time ago. And am I correct in that they have purchased WhatsApp? So, and then of course, I started getting notifications that Daily Mail is on WhatsApp. And I'm just like, no flipping way. Anybody I don't want anybody flagging me on the WhatsApp, right? Unless you're a close friend or companion, I don't want that type of alert coming up for the WhatsApp. So I definitely, if you have it, if you have any of those things in places where you are usually finding peace of mind, get rid of it. Get rid of it for your own mental health and well being. It makes sense to take a big step backwards. Deborah Anderson, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Saturday to you. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for being you. All right. Very cool. Thank you for being a friend. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew. Oh, man. Let's see here. A lot of information is being spread here in the rest of Europe. Very different in the UK. It is very late or early in the morning here. So I'm going to something. I will share that information next time. Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, Nita H. Thank you so much for being here. Love Wins Movement says, does the Daily Fail not get that they are on their way to a class action suit brought by powerful, successful Black men who are being targeted? Tyler, Misan, Christopher, Jonathan, who else did I miss? Well, if that is possible, I hope it happens. And I hope that the case is tried here in the US, but I think they'd have to take it over there. If I'm correct, they have to take it over there. And well, over there, things tend to go their way. So I'm hoping, but you know what? Drain their pockets. That's the whole point. The best way to hit someone really hard, especially a rich person, is to hit them in their pockets, right? The best way to hurt a rich man is to turn him into a poor man. So, oh, by the way, I hope you all watched Duchess Royal. Is it Royal Duchess? Duchess Royal. I only just finished watching it earlier, and I'm telling you, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. Um, so Glow is the one that puts that together, and it is great. So Glow, if you're watching, thank you again for a very fine video you put together. And you may notice, everyone, I just posted Love Wins Movement at the top of the chat. And of course, again, that is another Sussex friendly space, as is VS Speaks Royal, which VS is live most days. So if you're looking for something live earlier in the day, VS Speaks Royally. She's usually the first of the Sussex friendly spaces in the US. So make sure you check it out. Okay. So if you're not sure who we're referring to, that's Christopher Boozy, and Mr. Perkins is there on the right side. And of course, you notice that they are men of African descent. And of course, that means that they just have that thing in common, plus the fact that they have spoken up or defended the Duchess of Sussex. What I'm waiting for is for them to find some, or at least attempt to find some direct way to blame the Sussexes. I'm glad that the Sussexes have never mentioned Royal Sussex. I'm glad that they stay out of our business, you know, as Tina would say. It ain't none of their business. They need to just mind their business over there. What we do over here is none of their business. We do what we are doing because of, moral reasons, or in my case, I cannot stand a bully. So that is why the Sussex Squad exists, is because it started with a bunch of professional women who saw a pattern, people who watched the Suits, and they were just like, wait a minute, that doesn't jam. That does not jam. The Meghan Markle that we've been watching all these years on Suits, that we followed on Instagram, the one that created that clothing line for the Reitman store, the humanitarian, that Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, yes, the name may have changed slightly, but that's still the same person. That is still the same person. I don't know if you all watched the video I made earlier, but I made one, and it's called Another Reason to Love Meghan Markle. And it's so different the way they wrote about Meghan back in 2017 compared to the way they write about her today. Now, of course, there were those offensive articles like Straight Outta Compton and such, but this one really celebrated Meghan's humanitarian work in both Africa and India, right? It celebrates her humanitarian work. And looking at the article, I won't tell you what paper it's from, and I think the rest of you not to say anything. Please watch the video, and then you can have that little surprise at the end, like, really? That came from that paper? Yes, it came from that paper. Just like that article that hoghead Piers Morgan wrote about Harry being the next king. It's hard to believe that Piers Morgan would have wrote an article like that, extolling the virtues of Prince Harry in comparison to his brother, but he did, and it was very accurate. And I agree with Hoghead 100. But what changed? What changed? Well, we're going to get into a little bit of what changed very soon. Baron, I'm with you on that point. Can't stand mean girls. Princess Meghan is not too pretty. I'm sorry, is just too pretty, smart, and of course, great heart that Princess was blessed with from God. Thank you, Kim Peaches. That is beautiful, beautiful, and very true. Okay, let us continue then. So, speaking of Backfire, I decided since this was a very recent thing, that I would use this as an example of what backfire means. We've seen several examples of it. And from time to time on the Jeremy Vine show, oh, you can't really know what's going to happen, especially when people call in. And you notice that a lot of those phone calls are actually from Scotland, but there's plenty of people in England that feel the same way. So anyway, let me cue this one up. You may recognize that person there. It's a very feminized version of Boris Johnson. That's Rachel Johnson, his sister, who actually wrote a column that sounded pretty racist. And I believe she tried to walk it back. But what I love is that time she went to the US and she was trying to style herself as a feminist. And the woman that interviewed her was actually, it was a white woman who asked her about that column that she wrote about Megan, which caused her a great deal of embarrassment. But this is what I mean when I say that here in the US, there's every bit excellent chance that some of the people here in the media, some of the white people in our media, will gladly remind someone that something that they said or done was quite racist. It is not unusual. I think it would be unusual in the UK, but here it is more likely to happen. It is more likely to happen. And I can't speak to why that is, but it's probably, as people have said over the years, is that racism here is more obvious, and in the UK it's more covert. It is a lot of gaslighting and dismissive tones anytime you mention racism in the UK. Whereas here, this is the home of the class action suit. There's an excellent chance that you may find yourself having to pay out a lot of money. I know people who have applied for jobs and you find out that, oh, they don't hire black people. Here's a class action lawsuit. I mean, you're almost not even American if you haven't been a part of a class action lawsuit. But it's one way to get people to do the right thing is to hit them in their pockets. So let me see. Okay, here we go. Nope. Almost there. Oh, here we go.
Don't you think she's... No, hold on, Dave. Let's just remember. Kate Middleton as was.
Oh, you know what? It's in the middle. Let me start at the beginning.
Of course. That is awful and tragic, and we want the best for her. But what I found shallow and facile was when she said to other cancer sufferers, "Don't worry, you're not alone." That is absolutely awful, because there are many people that have to go through the GP practice, to inform the GP practice, to be put onto a specialist, to wait on a waiting list to get treatment, when herself gets private immediate treatment to deal with her cancer straight away. So she has no idea of other people who are suffering from cancer.
Don't you think, sorry to throw your own words back at you, but don't you think that's quite a shallow and knee-jerk, and not facile, but unsympathetic reaction?
What did I say at the start?
She would be facile and shallow.
What did I say at the start?
You said you were sorry for her and hoped she got better.
Yes, and her family,
but don't
and
you
the
think
issues of her family.
Hold on, Dave. Let's just remember, Kate Middleton as was comes from a solid Berkshire middle class family. She wasn't born into titles and privilege and huge wealth.
But she has it now.
Yes, she does. But you're saying she can't know what other people are going through. And it was facile and shallow for her to say, "You are not alone." I thought that showed she had kinship with anybody else.
No.
Who has gone through
please
that?
Let me come back.
Yeah,
please let me come back. Right. she's very fortunate, and I hope everything works out for her. Right? She has the best private healthcare possible that anybody can have immediately at hand. The same with the king, right? But other mainstream people do not have that.
You see what I mean? That's a backfire right there. They try to build up all of this sympathy using what they have, which is, of course, Kate Middleton and whatever the medical issues that she's having. She won't tell us what kind of cancer. Charles will not tell us what kind of cancer, but they say they have cancer. So I'm going to go with that. They have cancer. But they tell you enough to trigger certain emotional responses, but they won't give you more information, which might actually help other people. It might help other people if they were more specific, because there's such a variety of cancer. How do we know what we're looking for? And it also could cause, more panic for people and make them want to run to their GP much sooner, only to find out that they're going on a waiting list. You're not coughing up blood? Wait. You're not pooping blood? Wait. There's not enough resources available for the influx of people. And I do hope that it doesn't require a trip as an emergency to seek treatment. I hope they can get it sooner. But you notice how she said, oh, wait a minute, she's from a solid Berkshire middle-class background. I don't know what that means. I get middle class, and I'm sure Berkshire is a nice place, but are you saying that she may have had to wait a little longer? Or, what are you trying to say? As far as I know, Kate has never done an honest day's work in her life, not even as a royal. Not even as a royal. She and William have constantly and consistently have been branded as the two laziest working royals, senior royals, that family has had in modern times. Lazy, very lazy. And that doesn't change because someone is ill. That doesn't change because Meghan married into the family. The only thing that changed is that they stopped reporting it. But before, when it was reported, it was a way to try to, I guess, bring them or shame them into working. And that did not work. And the fact that William called off for his godfather's prayer service wasn't the first time. Wasn't the first time. William has missed a lot of dates where other senior royals would have been afraid. They'd get their money cut off or they would get disciplined in some way. William didn't care. William is there for the glory. Kate will show up for the glory. But when it comes to doing the work, they are incapable of it. It's not that they can't do it. They just won't. They just won't do it. And so even though people don't crowd the streets complaining about how lazy they are, I believe it is more common knowledge than people appreciate. And so the fact that, when William said he was taking all that time off, did you notice that he came right back and did a few rounds as a senior royal again because people were calling him out? I believe it was, wasn't it, was it James O'Brien who said that most people don't have the luxury to take off like that. And they don't. And I'm afraid that, I'm not afraid, I'm actually glad that the media give them this false sense of security that they can take off at will, randomly just take off, and that everyone is going to feel sorry for them because, they're raising the next king of England and therefore XYZ. But life doesn't work like that. People have been calling them out and letting them know that you don't get a free pass just because you're famous. And as for the doctored photo, that has almost been forgotten. They were very clever about the whole thing, but let me see. Okay, this is James O'Brien. Let me see what this one is.
Takes some footage of them.
Nope. Okay, that's about the garden center. I was looking for the one about them, and I wasn't really prepared to show it. But Jeannie Bond, remember Jeannie Bond said this, and unfortunately,
I think we should be aware of that. You know, we're trying to say that we should lay off Catherine, that we should be kind towards Catherine after a small mistake. Well, we can't have dual standards and be so critical of everything Meghan does and then demand kindness for Catherine. There is so much criticism of Meghan, whatever she does and whenever she opens her mouth. And I think we should be aware of that. You know, we're trying to say that we should lay off Catherine, that we should be kind towards Catherine after a small mistake. Well, we can't have dual standards and be so critical of everything Meghan does and then demand kindness for Catherine.
But yet, that's exactly what they do. That is exactly what they do day after day after day. Without failure, that's exactly what happens. So she mentioned it. She called it for what it is, but that's going to be quickly forgotten. And they'll move right past that. But they have a real problem, y'all, because if Kate doesn't come back soon, if Kate is taking the rest of the year off for whatever reason, they are there. Well, you know what's going to happen is that they're going to continue to put pressure on Meghan to lay low and disappear. You already know that's going to happen. They're going to increase their pressure on Meghan to do as little as possible or to get invisible for the sake of Catherine, which of course should never happen, but that seems to be what they're angling for. So for that reason, I'm kind of hoping that she will come back, just so that we don't have to deal with all of that nonsense. It's not our faults, right? And it's not the pressure that we deserve as people that support Meghan. But you know, it's just how life is that they're going to do their most to try to keep making it about the Sussexes, while everybody else in the family go about their business doing whatever it is they choose to do. They're still going to make it all about the Sussexes. Number one is sales, and number two, so far they have been very successful at shifting the blame. Not successful in that is, you know, that it fools most people, but their core constituents, the royalists, those are the people that they need to appeal to, because at this point, even if they cannot garner more support than what they have today, they certainly don't want to lose the support that they have. They don't want to lose that support. You don't want to go backwards. So that, I think that's their goal, is to make sure that they're not losing ground with Kate away for whatever reason. But wow, if anybody would have told me that we would be at this place right now, I wouldn't believe it. I just wouldn't believe it. But you guys, remember I kept saying this is unsustainable? And I was thinking that Kate and Willie Leaks were going to take off at some point. I kept saying this is unsustainable. They cannot function the way that they are indefinitely. I said that over and over again. Now, much to my surprise, they seem to have more juice in them than I was giving them credit for. But eventually, it all collapsed. It really did collapse, just as I predicted. Just as I predicted, I assumed that they could not sustain that amount of activity. I was looking at Kate. She looked exhausted to me. William, it seems as though he was getting more angrier by the day. So I just didn't think it was possible for them to keep it up. And yeah, it did collapse. It wasn't at the time or the place that I assumed, but I knew that they were going to take some time off. They were working during periods when they would normally have a month or two off. That surprised me, but I knew it wasn't going to last. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Kate comes back anytime soon. Whew, I tell you, it is interesting. I won't tell you that I'm not finding this interesting, because I do. I really, really do find it interesting. Okay, the other little soundbite that I was hoping to find, I do not see it. It was one with, and you know, I'm starting to doubt myself. Maybe it was not James O'Brien, but no worries. We'll keep it moving. Oh my God, Victoria! Remember Victoria Mather? She suggested to Rachel Johnson that the quote unquote Mexit could be part of the reason why King Charles is unwell with cancer. And then they had, and that too was a backfire, because not only did you have doctors come on to dispute that, they said there you cannot make a link between stress and cancer. There's no scientific evidence. Not only did the doctors, the medical professionals, push back against that, but you also had them put a disclaimer on that particular video from GB News. That is a backfire. That is another example of something that was said that backfired terribly. And of course, Hoghead Piers Morgan, he suffered a backfire because he lost his position on ITV. It had gotten so outrageous that there was just no justification. Since I'm doing Name That Backfire, what about Lilibet Diana's name? They made the Queen look ridiculous. They really caused embarrassment to Queen Elizabeth. That was shameful. That was absolutely shameful. They did a disservice to Queen Elizabeth by making her sound like some big, giant, petty toddler. Yeah, so, yeah, it's a combination of things. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next thing here. All shall be exposed, though. Trust and believe. All will be exposed in due time. The truth is going to come out.
Envy, isn't it? The whole point of the attacks upon Prince Harry and his wife, whether they're coming from within the palace, on the record, off the record, nowhere near the record, or whether it's coming from Fleet Street, is because they're simply better at everything. They're better at PR. They're more media savvy. They're more articulate. They're more empathetic. Crucially, they're more accomplished. Look at their careers. Compare their careers. They're more accomplished and they're more attractive. So here is the real sin of Harry Windsor. And this only occurred to me last night. But the real reason for the hatred, the viciousness, and this astonishing level of abuse is because they make a complete mockery of royalty itself. The idea that he gets the top job and he sits in the sidecar for the rest of his life is absolutely absurd. But we can never ever admit that because it shakes the very foundations of the royal family.
You tell him, James O'Brien. William gets the top job and Harry rides in the sidecar. And anybody can look at Harry and his accomplishments. Anyone can look at Meghan and her accomplishments, and you compare them to Will and Kate, and Will and Kate come up empty time and time again. It's almost the height of hypocrisy. It's so pompous to try and gaslight people and portray Will and Kate as these two hardworking people when everybody in the land knows that nothing could be further from the truth. The only people that tolerate that lie are the people that usually just have it in for Meghan. And by default, Harry, because you know that the hate against Harry is mostly born out of the hate against Meghan, which is born out of racism and misogyny. Because she's not a mannequin or Stepford wife, the people that hold it against her the most are wives, are women. It's hard to believe that in this day and age that it's actually women that are giving her the worst business, but it's true. In 2024, let me see. Marjorie Austin, member for 8 months. Baron, finding the real Kate to bring out to the public is the problem. Yes, because first of all, we don't know who the real Kate is. And we're not even sure that she's available to come out to the public. There's a few reasons why it may be impossible to bring out the real Kate Middleton. And in time, we'll find out. We'll find out. You know, I just thought about this. The fact that people were assuming that Kate was no longer alive and people could actually believe that they had done something to her, that's the problem. It wouldn't be a problem if you had more people who could not believe and would not believe that anything happened to Kate. But unfortunately, more people were willing to accept that she was probably gone forever, which means that people think very little of that family. I honestly don't know what they're fighting for. I don't know what they're fighting for. I mean, I get that they want to keep power, but it's impossible because even though they have pretty much used their propaganda and gaslit people into submission, they have exhausted all of these topics so that most people just turn a deaf ear or a blind eye to it and go about their business. The truth is, things are not okay. And it is unraveling at this moment. It's unraveling. So BBC receives more than 100 complaints over its excessive and insensitive coverage of Kate's cancer diagnosis. Kate announced she was undergoing treatment for cancer in an emotional video on March 22nd. The BBC has hit back at criticism, saying it was mindful of its reporting approach. Now, 100 complaints is not a lot, but you would imagine that no one should complain about it, right? And so let's multiply that 100 by the people who just switched off the telly and didn't bother with it anymore. The coverage of Philip when Philip died, that was excessive. The coverage of the Queen when the Queen died, that was excessive. And it's not that most people didn't have a soft spot for the Queen, but the frantic mourning or the pushing the process of mourning, shutting down the economy for those days. And some people actually unable to work and were not going to get compensated, especially the people who are part of the underground economy, which there are quite a few. The off the book economy. They don't get that money back because they shut down Greater London. They don't get that money back. So they were forced to mourn whether or not they wanted to. And there's a backlash with those things. So there's a lot of people who love the Queen but hate the institution and the idea of monarchy. And they were trying to, by the way, Marjorie Austin, thank you for your comment. And thanks for being a member. They were trying to create this false equivalency, but it's not. They're not the same thing. Most people have compartmentalized their love for the Queen and the love for the crown years ago. And I don't think most people really care for the crown. Okay, now this is going to surprise you, but I agree with Charles. I agree with him. Anger at Charles' plan to build an ideal town in Kent. Locals lash out at proposal designed by the monarch for 2,500 homes on 320 acres of farmland, which they fear will swallow up historic villages into an urban mass. Good. Now, too bad for the people that live in that area that may find their way of life changing, but there is a massive shortage of housing. And whatever anybody can do to put housing on the market is a good idea. I mean, I don't want poor people to get ripped off, but if you can build a house with another couch for someone homeless to sleep on, then build it. Build it. So with that one, I agree. Now, that other housing development that Charles created, most people that know these things say it was a huge success. A huge success. That they created something that was elegant and functional, and it also had layers of income. It had a diverse income levels and ranges, or as they like to say, there was a mixed income community. And for the most part, they say it works. So if you can do that, as a matter of fact, so well that it's being replicated in other countries. And so maybe this is Charles' last hurrah, his last big attempt to, I guess, solidify his legacy. Let him have it. Let them have it. They need housing. So I agree with that one. Lizzie 34 says they're fighting for greed of money and relevance, something they don't wish for the Sussex family. They make me sick. They make me sick. Absolutely, Lizzie 34. Thank you for being a member, and thank you so much for being here tonight. Greatly appreciate it. And here's another one. Now, I agree with the principle of opening up those palaces. I don't agree with the price, but there you have it. King Charles' historic decision to open Buckingham Palace in Balmoral to the public is another hint at his lack of affection for the world's most famous royal home, says expert. Thousands of people will be able to pay between £75 and £100 per ticket to see inside the royal properties, including an afternoon tea at His Majesty's Scottish estate. Good. There is more property with more rooms than are necessary. I hope that this money will pay for the upkeep. I hope it turns a profit for the state. But yes, open it up to the public. The Queen should have done it a long time ago, especially Buckingham Palace. The White House, probably one of the most famous addresses in the world, 2600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House, is open to the public. It is one of the few official residence of a head of state that is open to the public while the head of state is still living there. So yes, open it up. Open it up. As an American, having a chance to walk around the White House was a huge privilege. And I don't think I had to pay for it. Matter of fact, I'm sure I didn't pay for it. But yeah, open it up. It's not doing anybody any good. As a matter of fact, wedding venue. I would love to see them have a lottery for some of these properties where people who have low incomes might have the wedding of their dreams, right? At one of these properties. I've always wished for that because otherwise these properties are just sitting there. They're not doing anybody any good. So if someone can have a wedding in the garden of Buckingham Palace at a very low price, a sliding scale price, I would love to see that, right? Open it up to the public. Otherwise, it's not doing anything but just sitting there. So again, I agree with Chuck for this one, and I agree with that one. Open it up, build some new housing, put some people in Buckingham Palace, 78 rooms. Surely there's a few rooms for some homeless families. Put them in Buckingham Palace. And most of these estates, they have those outbuildings. They have cottages on those properties. How about you turn some of those over to the homeless? Now, Penny Natchbull and I don't care. Penny Natchbull and I don't care. Penny Natchbull and I don't care. I hope it's the gear shift. Whatever in the world is going on here? I couldn't say. Oh, okay. Here's another Sussex friendly space. Dan Speed has a YouTube channel. So there's a link at the top of the chat. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I just caught that out the corner of my eye. All right. So I don't know what's going on here, but Penny Natchbull and I don't care. Oh, it's 1600. You're absolutely right. I don't know where I got 26. Oh, you know what? I think 26 is the tail of one of those Air Force Ones. I think one of the Air Force Ones is tail 2600. And I always confuse that with the address. Thank you for that. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But yeah, so this is the Duke of, well, the late Duke of Edinburgh. This is his companion, Penny Natchbull, or whatever she was to him. Well, look at what happened here. Made in Chelsea's Freddie Natchbull bundled into a car and kidnapped by mobsters while filming for a reality show on French island of Corsica. Corsica. I believe that's where Napoleon Bonaparte was born, right? Corsica? Corsica. I think there was a car called the Chevy Corsica. Anyway, that name Corsica, if it doesn't mean anything to you, I believe that was the birthplace of Napoleon. Well, right here it says the reality personality, 20, who was a great grandson of Prince Philip's uncle, is said to have been bundled into a car while on French island. Model Freddie, who was locked in a 4x4 by a gang, prompting the other members of the cast to descend into a panic. Descend into a panic? Did they descend on the car and try to stop it? Huh? Don't descend into a panic. Descend on the car and try to stop it. Well, anyway, this is Freddie Natchbull. Love that name, Natchbull. Freddie Natchbull apparently was kidnapped. And I'm trying to see if there's a resemblance to, not Penny, Philip. Trying to see if there's any resemblance to Philip. Right now, I cannot tell. So, unusual name, though. Unusual name. That's like the name Cumberbatch. There's a few squatties that are named Cumberbatch. And there's a certain, what is it, in Jamaica? A certain area in Jamaica where that name is common, Cumberbatch. As a matter of fact, that name is common because of the actor, what's his name? Benjamin Cumberbatch. Oh, TC, thank you so much for the Cash App. Thank you very much for the Cash App. Is it Benjamin? No, it's not Benjamin. Well, anyway, Cumberbatch. That's another one of those names that if you have that name, you're probably related to people. Benjamin, Benedict. Oh, Benedict. Thank you, Legs. Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah, so if you're a Natch Bull, then chances are you're an offspring. I mean, related to Penny, not an offspring of Phillips. Or maybe both. I don't know. But I do think she lost a child or something like that. And they got to be very close, right? Much to the dismay of some people who love Queen Elizabeth II, but they got very close. So, but yeah, so this poor kid is missing. Now, right here it says the Countess who made Prince Philip's closest, who became Prince Philip's closest confidant, how Penny Natchbull befriended the Duke of Edinburgh and leaned on him after tragedy struck as the Crown films intimate scenes between the pair based upon unproven rumors of affair. Now, the fact that nobody has written a book or report, has anybody written a book about this? But they are protecting the Queen's memory, right? So much so that Philip's will is going to stay in a safe for about 99 years, almost as long as he lived, to protect the dignity of Queen Elizabeth II. Now, when Philip died, he had an estate that was valued at 30 million pounds. Now, for someone who was a penniless prince who married the Queen and became the penniless Duke, how in the world did he manage to get 30 million pounds? What is he, a member of the United States Senate? There's members of the United States Senate that have money like that, which ironically, they also showed up penniless, and now they're some of the wealthiest people. Whatever you feel about Joe Biden, they used to call him middle-class Joe because Joe Biden consistently was the poorest member of Congress, not just the Senate, but both houses of Congress. He was probably one of the poorest people, especially given the length of time that he was in office. Now, either he real stupid or he just wasn't on the take. But whatever the case may be, he was pretty po in consideration of his office. So just saying, I guess that's something that's universal. If you have the right connections, there's no limit to how much money you can get. So, wow, not bad. Philip. Not bad, Philip. Well, anyway, again, that is the young man that came up missing. And looks like he doesn't mind being out in public in his pajamas. Or is that supposed to be high fashion? Anyway, they said he was a model. Maybe that's high fashion. And look, there's young Penny Natchbull. She was quite a striking young lady when she was young. And there she is talking to the Queen. As a matter of fact, Penny Natchbull was actually, I'm sorry. Oh, Joan Garcia says, hi, Baron. I happily keep rolling along with you and the squaddies in support of Harry and Meghan. Well, thank you, Joan Garcia. I did miss that. There you go. All right. And thank you again for the super chat. Sorry about missing that. Okay. Now, if you look at the top there on the left, here I go starting my mess. But if you look at the top there on the left, they do have some suspects in mind. It says there were 5 burly men. They were intimidating and hostile and locked the door of the 4x4 with Freddie inside. Huh? And when I thought about it, 5 burly men, 5 burly men. I was like, oh my God. Robert Jobson, burly. Pierce Morgan, burly. Eamon Holmes, burly. The Duke of York, burly. And of course, the pregnant one on the right side, that is Jeremy Clarkson. Not just burly, but damn ugly too. Yeah, well, there you go. I think we have our suspects. Now, why they would enter into this unholy alliance to snatch Penny Natchbull's relative, I have no idea. But very, very interesting. Isn't that something? Huh. Well, you guys, let me know what you think. Now, for sure, I'm going to say the pregnant one, right? The one that's in the 100th trimester. And we already know how slick the phone hacker is. And of course, the one that's sitting down, well, he probably tired because of all that activity running around, locking doors behind himself. So, and Eamon Holmes, ain't nothing wrong with him. He's using that walking frame because he's looking for sympathy, but that's how he conceals his shadiness. So, yeah, there are my 5 suspects right there. So, you guys don't bother. I will submit their names to the necessary authorities, especially the fat one. I will submit their names myself. But yeah, that is my suspects right there. It almost seems like Eamon Holmes either ate him or just put him in his pouch. He looks like a marsupial, doesn't he? Yeah, he's probably got that poor kid in his pouch. Oh, man. And here's another burly suspect. I would say he's a suspect. I mean, look at how burly he is. No one could get a hold of him for ages. An insider added it was hugely worrying because he's the youngest, but it's all ended up okay. We had no idea what was going on and whether it was linked to money or he said the wrong thing in French. It's been kept under lock and key ever since. Mail Online has contacted E4 and a representative of Freddie for comment. It is claimed made in Chelsea bosses were not made aware of the incident at the time. The cast were already on alert as Corsica has the highest murder rate in Europe. Really? Corsica? I had no idea. The island of Corsica? Wow. Well, I'm going to have to do some research on that. But anyway, there's another burly one. That is Michael Fawcett. You know, Michael Cash for Honors Fawcett. Now, he looks kind of shady. So, along with those rascals right there, any of them are capable of anything. But for now, there's nothing to link them to the disappearance of anything but the old country buffet. That's the only thing that they have been guilty of making disappear is a buffet. But until we know better, we'll just assume that everyone is innocent. Even the fat one. Okay. But yeah, there's Penny Natchbull. Now, do you guys remember that scene from The Crown where the Queen spoke to Penny Natchbull and she said, well, you better come to church. We don't want people whispering. And I wonder if this is that church outing or some other outing associated with that comment from Queen Elizabeth II. But either way, very interesting. And right there, Philip's close confidant, comfort to the Queen, and of course, decades long friendship. I don't know why they just, if it was any other man or any other woman, they would just come out and say, "What's up?" But they won't do it because they are protected by that invisible contract. And that's the Queen riding around in a Range Rover. That was one of her last outings, if you all remember. She was probably heavily medicated. Whee! Yeah, she was probably heavily medicated. And I remember when this photo came out, I got so much anxiety because it appears that she's not wearing her seatbelt. And I kept thinking that, that the driver was going to stop really fast and Her Majesty would probably break her glasses and smush her lips all over the dashboard and everything. But fortunately, I don't think that happened. But you know how sometimes you just get anxiety about things like that because she's so little, and it'd be a shame for them to have to, reach under the dashboard and try to get her from up under there. So when I saw that, I was just like, y'all, please put her seatbelt on her because it's making me nervous and anxious. So I don't know why I obsessed about that, but I just didn't want anything to happen to her because she's so little, But I mean, I would hate for her to have to be air vac'd to the nearest hospital because she has lipstick smeared all up on her forehead and everything. So, and with that kind of medication, toward the end, she had that kind of medication where they have to put little weights on your ankles so you don't float away. And I didn't want anything to happen to her. So she could have floated right through the sunroof. So, yeah. Anyway, the things that people obsess about, right? Right. All right, let's get back to this here. The Krispy Kreme coffee is reliably rubbish, and I recommend staying well clear of one donut in particular, says Tom Parker Bowles as he visits Britain's first drive-through. Well, of course, there are drive-through restaurants in the UK, but what he's referring to is, oh, by the way, Tom Parker Bowles, that is Camilla's son, the one that I compared to a big mouth bass. And if you're wondering why I compare him to a big mouth bass, I mean, he looks like the big mouth bass. He does. The other name is the wide mouth bass. Now, according to the description, a largemouth bass is an olive green to greenish gray fish marked by a series of dark, sometimes black blotches forming a jagged horizontal stripe along each flank. Okay, that sounds like him. The upper jaw of the largemouth bass extends beyond beyond the rear margin of the orbit. Again, that sounds like him. The largemouth bass is the largest of the blackfish, reaching a maximum record overall length of 29.5 inches. And its maximum official weight is 25 pounds. Now, adjusting for this hybrid of a person, that's 225 pounds. It has sexual dimorphism and is found with a female larger than the male. Okay. Well, he seems to be a bit on the fence. So, okay, all of that sounds consistent. The largemouth bass prefers habitats with abundant lateral vegetation and generally maintains relatively small home ranges in lakes and have an average lifespan of 10 to 16 years in the wild. Well, again, this is a bit of a hybrid. So, Islander Jen says he has a pelican neck. I'm telling you, he seems like the person sitting next to him. He could just reach over and like gulp their entire head in his mouth. What a bizarre looking human being. So this is what they're talking about, though. Anyway, I was having fun, but this is what they're referring to. The coffee is reliably rubbish. I recommend staying well clear. Well, who are you to talk about somebody's coffee? And I was looking at that. I'm just like, why are they covering him? Why are they covering him? And then I looked at the bottom and it says Tom Parker Bowles. Yeah, an announcement last month that an industrial building in Suffolk, town of Lowestoft will be getting its first Krispy Kreme drive-through is good news for those people who enjoy both donuts and are doing very little indeed. Right, Tom Parker Bowles. How in the world did Tom Parker Bowles? Oh, you're welcome, Raven. You're welcome. How in the world did Tom Parker Bowles get this job? How did he become a writer for the Daily Mail? I mean, that seems like a terrible conflict of interest. His mother is the Queen Consort. His stepfather, who has sought to his comfort for the rest of his life, as well as security, King Charles III. How in the world is he doing reports in the most widely read English language publication? And then I thought about it. His mother. This is the person who went on television and said, long game? What long game? There's no long game. Remember when they said that Camilla played the long game? And he went on television just before the coronation to say, what long game? There's no long game. Well, if this isn't the results of a long game, I don't know what is. You're writing for the Daily Mail? This is a little vanity project for him. This is a vanity project. This should not have happened. In the plain light of day, they have given this man a position at a newspaper. That's a conflict of interest. And yet there he is. That is unbelievable. Let me see. I want to see if I can find that one. He literally said, what long game? There's no long game. He was on one of those morning shows claiming there was no long game. Well, if this isn't the long game, I don't know what is. Looks like the long game to me. Camilla has secured so much for her family because of her relationship with Charles. Plain and simple. There's no other way to put it. This man has had a very posh existence. I think he's supposed to be like some kind of chef and some other things. But even if he had worked hard, it still seems very wrong for him to, let me see. Mail on Sunday food critic. Oh, looks like he's been doing this for a while. Oh my God. Yeah, looks like he's been at it for a while. Ain't that something? Wow. Wow. I tell you, Camilla's done it. Won some award. Really? Well, I'm sure it wasn't bass on the menu. YM Droid says, no, not to challenge your research, but looking at Tom's face, I'm wondering if a horse can birth a donkey. Oh, you're talking about the donkey from Winnie the Pooh, right? Thank you, YM Droid. Yeah, I saw this and I was just like, what is he doing there? I've been rained on, rode hard, and put up wet. Camilla Parker Bowles. That should be the name of the made-for-TV movie, Camilla, The Long Game. I've been rained on, rode hard, and put up wet. I think that's a good title. Well, I guess this is how it happens. It seems as though Camilla has been close to Lord Nappyhead for quite some time. And if you don't know who Lord Nappyhead is, that is the racially ambiguous owner of the Daily Mail. He suffers from what they call in medical science Tom Jones syndrome. Tom Jones syndrome. That's when you're pretty sure your parents are white, but yet you appear to be racially ambiguous. So it's not unusual to look ambiguous to anyone. It's not unusual to look ambiguous to anyone. But yes, he is the owner of the Daily Fail. Yeah, I mean to tell you, what a vicious, vicious circle, a web that they weave. Look at that. Tom Parker Bowles, Daily Mail. I didn't know that until today. Wow. Interesting. And right there, he's come a long way in his life. Charles tries to shield Camilla after her son admits using cocaine. Well, just like the guy who was the owner of the hair club for men, he said that commercial. He says, I'm not just president of the company, I'm also a customer. Well, same for him. He wasn't just the pharmacist, and you know what I'm saying, but he also dabbled in the baking soda. Yeah. And don't forget, this is William's close friend. Him and William are like brothers. I promise you, they are like brothers. Speaking of which, I mean, not Wicked Witch, but speaking of which, still sounds weird. Camilla, the long game. There has been a long game. I don't care what anybody says, there has been a long game. And now I am starting to think that the reason why Kate has suddenly disappeared is obviously because she doesn't get along with Camilla, right? I mean, check it out. Let's say you're the future king, right? And just like father like son, let's say you have a little problem. Like you want to, go to the throne and you want things to go your way, but you have like, a little extra baggage that you need to separate yourself from, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. And so who better to explain to him how to get everything he wants out of life than Camilla? I think Camilla has this man under a spell. I really do. I don't know how. Remember, he told Harry, I'll deal with her in my own way. Well, looks like he's the one that's been dealt with. Looks like he's the one that's been dealt with, because everybody knows that Camilla and Charles were furious with Kate after that flower show. And interesting that Kate went to the flower show, but William stayed behind. And since then, things have gone from bad to worse for Kate. From bad to worse. And I can't help but think that there's some kind of connection. Don't know what it is, but it seems like there's a bit of a connection with all that stuff. Yeah, got him under a spell. TMCD, you're here. So you're able to come back to the chat, right? Everything is okay now. I hope so. I was wondering about you the other day. I was just like, gosh, I hope that worked out. Let's see. Wanda, what is it? Bagaro? It appears to be the case. She knows her way around men. So I suppose that after a day of mischief and a day of sorcery, she kicks back with a gin and a cigarette, and probably just puts on that diamond hat just for fun. But I think that people are really underestimating exactly how much power Camilla has solidified. It seems as though everything is going her way, especially when I look at William, because I think the odd man out, or woman, if you will, was Kate. Kate was the little extra appendage in that Fab Four that needed to go away for a little while. So I can't really say what has happened, but if I'm going to just say, if for any reason we find out that everything is not as it appears, and I don't suppose anybody would lie about having cancer. I'm not going to accuse Kate of lying. I don't think anybody would lie about that. I feel sorry for someone if they made up something like that, because given how awful it is, and how many people have suffered through it, I just don't want to believe that that's a thing. But if it is something else, I would be willing to bet you that it has something to do with Camilla. I mean, she is not only the queen consort, she's the queen. In a span of about, I don't know, 40 years, she has gone from this horrible outsider. They wanted Charles to marry a virgin, so that wasn't possible for her. They wanted Charles to marry someone who was aristocratic. Still, that's not Camilla either. But this very average looking person, who am I kidding? There's nothing average about her. But this big nobody with no money and no position is now the queen, and even doing stuff that only a blood royal could do. I have no way to explain that. How did that happen? TMCD says, Baron, I had to rejoin and it worked. Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sorry you had to go through all of that, but I'm glad you're here. Oh, okay. Thank you, Islander Jen. So remember this scene from the Queen's funeral, and we saw those two wicked individuals in the back of the state Bentley, well, in the back of a Bentley, not the state Bentley. But at that time, it was just like, wow. Um, I didn't know who I didn't like the most. Who did I dislike the most? I couldn't tell you. Of course, I had been leaning toward the Princess of Wales, but then again, the person who made Diana's life miserable, the Queen Consort, I always give her the most because of that. But either way, either way, now Kate is nowhere to be found, which after all of those magazine articles, ready to be queen, ready to lead, ready for the crown. Remember all those articles that they had where they were proclaiming Kate and William already on the throne, and people were saying that that was a bad idea, that there's going to be a backlash of some sort. And no matter how it happened, Kate is gone. Kate is nowhere to be found. And now Camilla is the face. Camilla is the face of the British royal family. That is the face of the British royal family. Unbelievable. That she managed to do that is incredible. It's extraordinary. Things like this ain't supposed to happen. Now, Charles is as weak as water, so that explains a lot right there. Charles is very indecisive and petty, and he has a partner that lets him do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants to do it, right? Someone who is not going to outshine him in any way possible. And so, well, they have some kinship now. I don't get it. TMCD says, I can't leave you, Baron. Oh, thank you so much for that. And thank you for the super chat. And as always, thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. Membership starting at the low price of just $4.99 a month to help support Royal Sussex. Yep. So Kate was just a heartbeat away, and she's still just a heartbeat away from getting that crown. But she's got to get through Camilla first. And now people are not even sure that Kate will ever be queen. Remember when people had doubts that Diana would be queen? Nobody was more doubtful than Diana. Diana said, I don't think I'll ever be queen, but I will prefer to be the queen of people's hearts. Okay. And that she shall always remain. But as for Kate, her future is unknown. Her whereabouts is unknown. We have not seen those children since Christmas. We have not seen those children since Christmas. They could have gone to church on Easter Sunday, and they did not. Where are the children? Where is Kate Middleton? Where is Willie Leaks? Thanks to that video of Kate sitting on the bench, well, that silenced a great deal of speculation, but still people want to know. If you recall, when they said that, let me see, Richard Palmer said, our exclusive story from this morning Express, the Queen did not consult the government over a U-turn on Queen Camilla. So Queen Elizabeth would normally go through all the right channels before she changes something like that. But on a session day, 2022, Queen Elizabeth said publicly that Camilla is not going to be the princess consort when I die. She should be called queen consort. And then that changed again when Charles said, just call her queen. And now she's the queen. That's extraordinary. Even Emily Andrews, having met her several times, I really like Camilla, but the PR campaign and spin of the last week has been extraordinary. The Daily Mail would have been first paper to lay siege to any idea of Queen Camilla, but they are, what does that say? Let me pull that down. Oh, there we go. They are putting in the Charles, is that Charles' hands? Yeah, Charles' hands. The invisible contract is real. So, yeah, everything. I mean, I know I talk about this from time to time, but everything is going her way. What is this spell that she seems to have over Charles? And now William. And now William. Why do I picture Camilla leaving an engagement and going home and marching up to the attic to check on the kids? Why do I keep seeing that in my mind's eye? Why do I keep seeing Camilla checking on the children in the attic? I don't know. But she is the stuff of a horror movie. Royal photographer stirs controversy by claiming Camilla is nicer than Princess Diana and easier to get on with. People's memories are slipping. Well, that was Arthur Edwards that said that. That was Arthur Edwards, who used to run around taking pictures of Princess Diana. And now he is, well, it's like Camilla walks around with him in her bra. Yep. I mean, they are best of buddies. Best of buddies. The case against Queen Camilla, it would mean the public in Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the other realms have been deceived. It would mean a monarchy built on lie by liars. 67% of the British public don't want her to be queen. But she is. It didn't matter. In the end, it took a lot of gaslighting and a lot of favors being called in by Camilla and Charles. Charles hosting overnight visits from members of the Royal Rota. I mean, what's her name? Victoria Newton. She said that she was with Charles the night before he became king. His last day of Prince of Wales, she was with him. And I don't doubt that since they were in Scotland, that she spent the night with the king and queen, Charles and Camilla. There are so many overnight visits from these royal reporters, these royal authors, than anybody could ever know. They eat from the king's table. They sleep in the king's bedrooms. They do all of that stuff. And Harry has said that, Camilla the villain, well, in so many words, but Camilla was dangerous. Prince Harry launches a blistering attack on Queen Camilla, Queen Consort rather, branding her a villain and claiming her need to rehabilitate her image after affair with Charles would end with bodies left in the street. That third person in the marriage stood before God and the entire country in the Church of England, in the most sacred of all the churches, and was crowned Queen Consort. The adulterers sat on those thrones that day, and nobody's supposed to say anything. The adulterers. And Sarah Vine, Prince Harry's portrait of Camilla, the villain, bears no resemblance to the earthy, authentic, and engaging lady I've got to know. Well, of course, all of those people in the, tabloids, that's their job, is to defend that institution. There is no objective writing going on. That's their jobs, is to defend them, no matter what. If there's something wrong, make it right, or make people believe it's right. Ulibi, I don't know why I keep getting that vision of Esther Rose smashing that punch bowl, but I just keep seeing Esther Rose smashing that punch bowl. Yeah, I cannot not see it. King Charles is furious at Princess Kate's Chelsea Flowers show thunder stealing. I think this right here marked doom for Kate Middleton. I think this right here, this was the start of a disaster. When Kate showed up at that flower show and took all the attention from Charles and Camilla, that was just another incident where things got progressively worse between the two households. And again, notice William didn't show up, just Kate. I don't even think people knew that Kate was coming. I think that was all set up that morning. And if they listened to their staff and ran in there before Charles and Camilla, that was a huge mistake. And now it seems like her and her family are paying the price for it. They're paying the price. The entire Middleton family, they're paying the price for it. And of course, some magazines had reported that they were not getting along years ago. And here's that newspaper I showed you. It was on the 9th of May, 2013. Defiant Camilla will be queen. Now, we knew that she was going to be queen, but remember at the time, she was supposed to be princess consort, so not to offend the people who knew and loved Princess Diana, meaning everyone else. But slowly, they kept creeping closer and closer to the death of Queen Elizabeth II. And by near the end of the queen's life, she said, call her Camilla, the queen consort. It says right there in 2013, dying Elizabeth, too weak to fight back. Pregnant Kate vows to stop her. She's already acting like Queen Camilla. And behind the scenes, quietly and discreetly, whispering and plotting and scheming. Remember, it was the Christmas luncheon where Jeremy Clarkson dined with others like Hoghead Pierce Morgan, Dame Judi Dench, and then he went home and wrote that article about Meghan, about her being covered with excrement, etc., etc. And the palace refused to speak out against him. The palace said they would not comment on that article, which means, of course, that there was no protection for Meghan. If that article was about Kate Middleton, the same way that all of these journalists were defending her, especially if an American, just think about that, they refuse to call out Jeremy Clarkson because of, that article. But yet, when Kate Middleton released these well, whoever put that photo out and whoever put together that very shoddy looking farmers market thing, and of course the questionably poor quality of the bench thing, all of that seems as though it was designed to give people doubt. And then, of course, big media agencies say, listen, you all are not reliable sources of news, and we have to call you out on it. If that had anything to do with Meghan, they would not hesitate to start yelling, take the titles away, and so on and so forth. But because it's not Meghan, there has been all hands on deck defending that institution, defending Kate, defending everybody. And of course, the Inquirer, the Globe, they had been saying for quite some time, they had called her a drunkard. She fell off the wagon. Looked like she hit her face on the way down, too. But she fell off the wagon. Just interesting headlines. We don't know if any of this is factual, but just interesting. This is Alex Murdoch, and I'm up in it bad. Hello? Yes, this is Alex Murdoch, and I'm up in it bad. I'm up in it real bad. And there's Camilla. As you know, they have said her age is around about 77 years. But the truth is, there has been evidence that Camilla has been hanging around that institution since the time of Victoria, and maybe even beyond that. Camilla has been around that institution for a couple of hundred years, to the best of my estimation. She's been around that institution. There's no way to know for sure. That is still a mystery. I suppose that they could maybe do like a core sample and count the rings in her legs, or perhaps they can carbon date. Yeah, do some carbon dating of her bones. But until that happens, we can't be sure how old she is. And of course, she was also a part. Everybody thinks that the idea of the royal family and Frankenstein started with that photo, the Franken photo. But the truth is, there's been speculation that Camilla may have been made up of several body parts. And that's why they always say, if it isn't the queen consort in the flesh, whose flesh is unclear. But she is in the flesh. We just don't know how old it is and from where it comes. But yes, that is the queen consort in the flesh. Lots of flesh. So, you guys, I'm very close to the end today. This is my last slide. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I think that whatever was going on, Kate was destined to disappear one way or the other. Again, Kate says she has cancer. I'm going to go with that. But there's a lot of strange things going on with that institution, and they are floundering. They are in trouble. And trying to blame Harry and Meghan for everything is not working any longer. The people that report on them, they had a nice little uptick of money with Kate's disappearance, but that is starting to sink again. And they're just not making as much money as they used to. So anyway, I am going to say good night to you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for your very generous contributions. Thank you to the Mod Squad for keeping this a safe space. And let me see. As usual, when you see our queens, it's time to go. And you know what I mean. Do make sure you watch that video that I posted earlier. Very interesting the way they used to talk about Megan and the way they refer to her today. So different. I'm going to get the link for that right now. Okay. Okay, so there's the link right there. It took a long time to edit that video. I was like, oh my goodness, I started on it last night. I had to go to bed and wake up again. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to pin that link to the top of the chat. Okay, so do check it out. Make sure you support all of these Sussex friendly spaces as much as you can. If you are feeling stressed by some of this material or by anything else that you see in the media, take a step away from it. Take a step away from it. Protect your mental health. It is so important. If you don't help yourself, you won't be available for anybody. Family, friends that are family. So protect your mental health. Okay? Love you guys. I will see you next time. And let's end with an appropriate quote for today. Let me see what I can find. Tom Parker Bowl biting into those Krispy Kremes. You know, he could have stuck that whole donut in his big mouth. I don't know why he played like that. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Nope, that's not it. Oh, that's sweet though. I like that. Oh, okay. Prayer for Meghan and Harry. God preserve their joy so they can spread it around them. God preserve their love so they can strengthen each other. God preserve their strength so they can serve others. God preserve their faith so they can serve you. Amen. All right. There we go. Raffaella Bertoni, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. All right. What a great prayer. I like that. Yeah, I like that one. Hey, Marshar. Let's see. Cynthia, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Sunday to you. Good night, Lydia. Thank you for being here. Good night to you too, Kim Peaches. Too bad Celibitchy didn't come on today. I hate when Celibitchy is not on Saturdays. That's the only day they come on, and sometime they're, well, you know, because of things happening in their personal lives, they have to skip a week or two. So that's always sad news for me. Okay, so let's end with Madam Duchess, and I will see you all tomorrow.
My wife. My wife. My wife. My wife and I. My wife and I. My wife and I. My wife and I. For me and my wife. Me and my wife. I'm so proud of my wife. My incredible wife. An amazing wife. The soulmate in my wife. Thank you, my love. The mother to my children. The love of my life.
And what I know about the two of them, and I wish the world knew how much they love these two people love each other. They found each other out of all these odds against them finding each other, they found each other, and the love that they have is really, really moving. And I just wanted to do anything I could to support them.
Isn't that funny? Sometimes you know when you meet someone.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you can see like what love is, and
Right.
you can tell right away.
Yeah, yeah. And if I don't have that, what she and Harry have, I don't want it.